Hello and welcome to the Amplifier Podcast, the show where the best in business discuss how you can grow your business best. I'm Wyatt McPherson, I produce this show, and this week our host Don Cooper is speaking again with Randy Long for his final of 3 episodes with us. Randy is the founder and CEO of Long Business Advisors and author of The Braveheart Exit and Bulletproof Your Exit, all of which are built and designed to aid in a smooth transition and exit from your business. Don and Randy discuss how important it is to plan your exit from your business, when the right time to do it is, the best ways of going about it, and ultimately how you can and should start to plan out something that many entrepreneurs unfortunately fail to realize the immense importance of until it is too late. It's a fantastic conversation that deals with not often talked about business topics, so make sure you check out our other 2 episodes with Randy after this one, and subscribe so you don't miss any in the future. But with all of that said, I truly do hope that you enjoy this episode of the Amplifier Podcast.
Sometimes the question comes up of when should I sell or when can I sell, right? That's different than I'm going to sell. But
Yes.
really, when should you or when could you? Part of the process that we run through is basically we assess the resources, right? So as an example, I always tell my business owners, look, when we've had businesses and we've run them, it's different for you to live out of running a business where you've got your health insurance is paid for, and you get, the truck comes from the business, and you have all these different pension plan. Oh, we got all this going on, right?
Yep.
And so our actual income though is let's say it's $250,000. That's our actual income.
Yep.
But what we're actually using the business for, we're getting an economic benefit of 400.
Yes. Oh yeah. I
Right?
fully appreciate that. You may be getting 250 grand, but you got a $500,000 life.
That's right. So
Yeah.
so then they think, oh well, I'll sell the business, for $5 million, and that's all I need to replace everything. But what you've got to, first of all, you got to pay the tax, whatever that planning is. So you got to pay the tax. So that comes off the top. Then you've got to pay your M&A people, and you got to pay your deal lawyer. You got to pay any of the employees that have either stay bonuses or equity positions of some sort. And then what's left after that, then you've got to live out of that portfolio. And by the way, your expenses are roughly 25 to 40% higher than they were while you were running the company. And
Right.
so all of a sudden, what looked like a ton of money, how are we going to make ends meet? And so we try to, for our clients, we deal with all that stuff up front, but too many business owners, and is part of the reason that they regret the sale, is because they sold too early, thinking that they didn't need as much as they did, because they didn't understand all the ways that they were going to need money and how much they would lose from the sale of the business. So, assessing resources is a big deal. The other thing for us too, and you've experienced part of this, is assembling that team, putting the team together to accomplish the exit. Part of it, of course, the M&A firm comes towards the end of that period, but there are other team members up front. You need good tax people, you need a financial person that's working with you. I like the role that we play, and I don't know almost anyone that does what we do, truthfully, but the role that we do is essentially putting ourselves in the place of the owner and say, knowing what we know, what would we want this owner to have in place and to prepare him for what's to come, right? So that is getting the right team around you, assessing your resources, understanding what the gap is between what you have and what you need. And that then gives us goals about growth. And then we can start dealing with process and all the issues we've discussed about building in the catalysts, that we need to reach the level of growth that we want to reach our goals. So,
to be successful in this whole thing from a setup and through exit, when I think about the estate planning and the insurances and taxes and all of that, entrepreneurs get into whatever they do, whatever their business product and service is, because they love and are passionate and are experts at that.
That's right.
And in order to be successful for exit, you need to be an expert in planning your estate and your taxes and your insurances and your income planning post exit. And we're not that. Like,
right.
Right.
That's
So, but most of us will go, hey, I better go buy some insurance.
Right.
And I better, go get a will, or I better get an accountant to figure out my taxes. None of which is actually strategic in terms of dealing with that sophistication in a way that you can get the most value and the most equally. I mean, all that stuff just feels painful to me.
It does. Well, the owner, like you say, the owner typically makes the decisions, but the truth is they're not qualified, honestly, to make them.
Yeah.
They don't know. So I was at a meeting today, as a matter of fact, at a law firm, with the CPA firm came, and basically the lawyer and the CPA, they're looking to us for the overall structure of the planning. We're telling them what to do. And as opposed to if the client had been trying to pull it off, they'd have go seen the lawyer, then they'd have gone seen the accountant, and they wouldn't know what to do, because they basically do what they're told to do. We need a trust. Can you do a trust for us? Sure. Do the trust, get paid, they move on. But the reason that we have a business is because we are always thinking on behalf of our clients. What is the next thing that we're supposed to do along the path of getting us ready for an exit? Some of our cases will last 6 months to a year. Some of them, I have one in the 8th year, a number of them in the 3rd and 4th year, because we become not just friends, but we become confidants, you see. And so they like to, if they're continuing to grow and they want us to stay on to help them, because the bigger you get, the more complex the issues become. And you don't a lot of times recognize what's ahead that you don't know that you're looking into that becomes a problem, So we're thinking ahead of all of that. So it's nice if you can find somebody that can think with you and plan with you, that actually knows, that has a big, broad background, like you said. So my background, yes, I'm a lawyer. I'm a certified financial planner. I'm a certified exit planner. I've had insurance licenses. Had a Series 7. I was a stockbroker years ago. I mean, I have this, big background.
A broad set of capabilities. So you could take a 30,000-foot view and not just be worrying about those individual components. Because the solution is the sum of all those things and how they all work together, isn't it?
You got it. And you have a good grasp of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But most people,
I because I've gotten my own insight in our own entrepreneurial network, because I never thought about this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, loosely, I say, I got to get a will and I got to do this, and I don't want to learn about tax. I got no interest in wanting to learn about tax, but I do have a massive interest in paying as little of it as I possibly can.
That's right.
And so but having someone who has that view, and what was really interesting is, that idea of a family office who coordinate all of these other experts in insurance and legal and tax and estate. And it's, not only is it complicated and sophisticated, it's always changing.
It's always changing. That's correct.
Always changing, and depends on the political, mode going on at any given time in any state, province, or country, and who's deciding to take your money so they can pay for giving it to somebody else.
That's right. It seems like the politicians all seem to think that they know better how to spend our money than we do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind giving money away for good causes. I just don't want someone else deciding where it's going to go.
Exactly. I recognize there are certain things we need a military, and we need good roads, and there are a few things that I'm really, really willing to pay for, but I'm not a big fan of deciding, welfare around the world. All it does is impoverishes the nations and keeps them impoverished. Look at Africa.
Yeah.
America has so much money given.
100%. We've been raising money and donating money for as long as I've been alive, and I don't see anything getting better.
We just make them dependent. That's all.
Me personally, all the political spectrum, and I think in North America, we are more polarized politically than we've ever been between the conservatives and the liberals, or the Republicans and the Democrats.
Yeah.
But I honestly think most North Americans are much more centralist, in that I think we all want small government to get the heck out of our way, but we all believe in some level of a social safety net.
Yes.
And I call myself a fiscal conservative, but socially liberal.
Yeah.
But not necessarily not necessarily, throw the money out, because, I don't know if anyone looked lately, but of all the ways that money can get spent and wasted, governments are not great at getting things done with money.
They are not. They are
You know?
not. It's a fact.
It is incredible how they could spend tens of thousands of dollars that you or I could figure out how to do for $500.
It's,
Right. And so
yeah,
that,
it's the $20,000 toilet seats on the aircraft carriers, right?
yeah, but I think that, I think all governments and democracies start with a philosophy to serve the people's interests.
Yep.
But as they grow and get into a massive bureaucracy, they become self-feeding, and they shift into not serving the people, but serving their own existence and their own growth and justification.
That's right. The power, once they get the power, nobody releases it.
Yeah.
And then, what is it they say? Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. How does, we talked a lot about how the business owner gets ready.
Yeah.
There's another whole element to this, which is important to me, and it's important. I know it's important to you. It's, how do you get a family ready for any exit or transition?
Yeah. And of course, the simple answer is every family's different. So there are some things that do need to happen, though. Part of getting the family ready is understanding that the need of what it's going to take you to live afterwards. So that we talked about this earlier before, about understanding the resources and finding out whether there's a gap. This is part of the family planning, is the financial side of the family planning. Is the you need to make sure that your wife and kids are going to be taken care of, whether or not you do the sale or not. That's one thing. So family planning includes the actual estate planning. It includes planning for opportunities for your kids inside your own business, for education, opportunity, experience, all that kind of thing. You want to give them that. And then you also want to see whether or not there are ways to, we like to also give, if the company's growing and the kids are involved, we also like to see if the family's decided there is a certain dollar amount. Had a meeting today with one of my clients. He knows he wants $30 million of value. And when he reaches a sale at the place where he can get 30 million, he's done, right? That's his, I'm finished. Yeah. So, but he also, within that, we're also planning to give kids certain interests in the business, so that when the 30 million is sold, he knows that 2 million's here and 2 million's there and 2 million's there. And so he's thinking within the family, because the family has helped him build the company, Yes. So being responsible, I do think too, you have to be careful that you don't, I'm not a big fan of trust babies.
Yeah.
I think that it handicaps their ability to, and the opportunity to fail and to make a living and to have self-respect. I don't mind the trusts kick in when, they're 40 or 35, maybe a little bit in 35, but mostly I want them to go through the hard knocks of a career.
Yeah. You were talking about this last week, about talking about how that should be done. I mean, I remember I didn't grow up in any way as a trust baby or a silver spoon. I got, my dad died when I was 13, and my mom struggled to pay the bills.
Exactly.
I remember age 16, 17, my mom was struggling because she had a second mortgage to kind of cover things, because dad didn't have the right life insurance. And she would come to me, I was working, and she would come to me almost every month asking to borrow money to pay the mortgage. And I was literally giving her mortgage payments when I was 16 and 17.
Yeah.
When I finished high school, I got accepted in the university. And I remember being so proud of the day that I got that acceptance letter. And my mother didn't speak to me for a week. And she finally said, Donnie, like, I don't have any money to send you to school.
Right.
And she was really hurting about that. I remember that conversation really well. And I kind of started laughing, and I said, Mom, I said, I don't expect you to pay for this. I says, I got this.
Right.
Right. But, and I take a lot of pride in having figured out how to get through life that way, that there was no handouts. But so I don't have the perspective. My kids, they're certainly way more spoiled and have a better life than I had growing up. But
Sure.
giving expectations of a free ride when you're 18, I mean, to me, I think that is a setup for absolute failure in life.
It sure is. It sure is. And too many people, that's kind of their goal, is to be able to put their kids on easy street. I don't want to put my kids on easy street. I want to put my kids on opportunity street.
Yes, exactly.
Right. And my kids, I'm, thank God my kids have been super responsible. My oldest my daughter's married a guy that's got an MBA from Georgetown, runs a company, startup healthcare. My next daughter, Ellen, works for me. The next one is a financial planner with Truist Bank. And the next one is a tax attorney in Charlotte, has it as an LLM from Georgetown, smart kid. And the final one is at NC State, he's got one semester left for computer engineering. My kids have all done super well. I'm really, really proud of them.
Good role model.
They've done well. I'm thankful.
Randy, what other thoughts do you have on how business owners can and their families can get ready? What are some final tips?
My biggest one, let me just say this. What's even helpful, the first book I wrote, The Braveheart Exit, which is the one we've talked about, it is a thorough book. I'll say that. And it's also a little bit technical, especially the middle of the book. So we went back and we wrote another book, which is called Bulletproof Your Exit. And that Bulletproof Your Exit, we have worked super hard to get it down to about 100 pages. And we have had so many good, I don't know if there's I don't think anybody's I haven't thought about having them put the reviews on Amazon, but the letters I get and the phone calls I get from the people that have read the book has been really, really great. Because last week, matter of fact, Genius Network guy was talking to us and he said, we read your book. He said, I've never read a better book in my life. It was the best written. It was clear. It had examples. It had stories. It had checklists. He said it was really well done. I was like, yeah, my lawyer son worked on it with me and my MBA daughter worked it with me. And so, we wrote it together, but it's a really easy read. And I would love for people, and really cheap, it's in paperback. So it's like $12 or something. So we would love for people to read that. The education they would get out of that, honestly, the guy said, quote unquote, is priceless to me. So
awesome.
You're going to have a very, very hard time finding somebody like me. We do work around the US. I don't work overseas at all. Yeah. But there's not almost very, very few people that actually do what we do. There's people that will sell your company when you're ready to sell, but there's a whole lot of work between here and there.
Yeah. I mean, the handful of people that I know that do that total plan, I've met through our network.
Yeah.
I have never met anyone who has that sort of holistic, family office, and unless you're a billionaire and you're Warren Buffett and you build your own team. Yeah. That idea of advising on all of those aspects is something that I've really come to learn inside of our entrepreneurial network. So it is a very rare thing, because I can find lots of insurance advisors, and I've got one, and tax advisors, and I've got one, and lawyers. Well, there's lots of them.
Right. Financial planners, lots of those. Yeah. You can find all the disciplines, but that's not what the issue is.
Well, they don't develop a strategy and a plan for how they all work together to get the best protection for the business and the best value and the best outcomes, right?
Yeah, I think part of the reason why it works successfully for us, first of all, I know what their jobs are and I know what to expect of them.
Right.
So they don't, I don't get the BS stuff. I can hold them accountable for what they're supposed to do for our plan. Secondly, if I don't allow this kind of thing where people are competing against each other to try to look good in front of the client. Those people I get rid of, right? So I eliminate that part, and then I try to eliminate people with conflicts. I don't want them to give me advice on something where they're going to make more money versus something else. So I need to be able to make those calls and then say, okay, this is what we're going to do. You can do this, and then they can do the work. But so for us, it allows us to help us eliminate the silo planning, eliminate the conflict planning, and make this thing really, honestly, it's kind of fun to do the work. And especially the spouses, we've learned that the wives, we've got, I don't know, probably 15 or 20% of our clients are female business owners. So the majority of them are male run companies, and the wives, they're very wary of us at first, but eventually they become our biggest, our biggest proponents, because they realize that we're actually trying to make sure their husband takes care of them in a way that he would have never been able to do without us being involved. So
I can picture my wife, and she said to me a few times, well, what happens if you get hit by a bus?
Yeah.
Right. And, and I don't have someone like you right now. But, this is something that I've got to get in place. So that's why I wanted to talk to you on the show, so that, my audience, all my entrepreneurial audience, anyway, not everyone that listens to the show is an entrepreneur, but I think this is really important, because that's the number one thing for me is, the value for me personally is important, but second, the value for me that's most important is making sure that my wife, my kids and my mother are protected through whatever happens, so that, because, that's why I want to create the value. Right.
That's right. That's right.
And so, the having that central planning structure to me makes so much sense, because other than that, I remember when my father died, and the nightmare of my mother trying to figure out where's the deed to the house, and what were the debts, and where is and isn't the insurance, and how do I pay for everything when he used to take care. And this is almost 40 years ago.
Sure.
And so, I've got this real life experience of what happens when you get hit by a truck.
You do.
And my father wasn't a business owner. He just didn't have his house in order at the end of his life. That resulted in a widow and children having to figure out how to, move on.
That's right.
So it's a super important thing, because, no one plans to get hit by a truck today.
That's right. That's right. So I would say the most important thing is get started.
Yeah, get started.
And like I said, for the $12, and I don't need to push my book. I don't mean to do that, but
I'm going to go buy your book as soon as we finish this call, because I don't have it.
I don't know how to get. I wrote the book so that I could impact as many small business owners as I can, because a lot of them wouldn't be able to afford us anyway.
Right.
We typically work with companies 20 to 100 million in value, maybe as low as 5 once in a while. But most of the small business guys, are their business is worth $1 million or $2 million,
Right.
and they need that, but they still need this work because that's all they have. So we need them to do well.
Yes.
And so this is a super buy for them. I would really encourage them to read the 100 pages. They'll learn a lot.
So your original book is The Braveheart Exit.
Yeah.
Your revised and condensed book is called The Bulletproof Your Exit.
That's correct.
Where can people get both books?
You can buy them both on Amazon.
Both on Amazon. Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. I would encourage you. The first one is longer and deeper, but for what we're trying to accomplish with the business owner and getting them a basic education, I would read the second one first.
Right. Bulletproof Your Exit.
Yeah, if you're interested.
I just love the name of the first book, and that's why I brought my sword and my kilt to this conversation.
Well, we still call it the Braveheart process. Okay.
Awesome. It's still the Braveheart process. And my attire is perfectly suitable for this podcast episode. Randy, absolute pleasure. Will I see you at this month's meeting with Joe?
You will.
With Joe's team? Perfect.
Yeah.
I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank-
Thanks for the opportunity. I've loved the time with you.
Yeah, no, this was fantastic. I mean, I do this show because I want to share great knowledge, but equally, inside of our network, there's two things that we want to do, right? We want to give and we want to connect. And this is my way of giving and connecting to our network. Thanks, Randy. I'll talk to you soon.
We'll talk to you later.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
And there you have it. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Amplifier Podcast. If you would like to get in touch with Don or Randy at any point in time and discover more of what both of them can do for you and your business, then you can always find both of their links in the description of this episode. Make sure you leave a 5-star rating on this show. It truly does help us out a lot. And be sure to subscribe so you never miss any future episodes. With all of that said, though, I truly do hope that you've enjoyed this episode of the Amplifier Podcast, and we shall see you next time.